Well, we did an interview with Rob Callister the other day, and this one's being held till Saturday because your blog has to have it first. I was saying, this is great. That's fine. You can take that. But on serious note, I came in today and we were talking about. I've heard you moved departments, and you're surprised I even knew about it. But it'll be out on Saturday. Tell us what's exactly happened.
I was surprised that you knew about it, and you caught me out. And I didn't actually say to hold it off until my blog was published.
I thought we
what I said was I had a conversation with the Chief Minister and I wanted a formal announcement to be made.
What's happened?
I've just transferred from Home Affairs. I've only been in there a few weeks,
right.
But an opportunity has arisen where I can jump over and to go into DEFA, which I grabbed with both hands.
Okay, you've moved around a bit since we started. It's health, wasn't it?
Started with health, and I started in DFE. I'm still in the Department for Enterprise. Obviously, I'm not going to repeat what's happened in the health department. I then just stayed in one department. I was also chairman of the Environment and Infrastructure Policy Review Committee.
Okay.
So it just came about that, Tim Baker's been elevated to Minister for DOI. I knew that DEFA needed some more members, and I know DOI needed some members. DEFA is a department that I'm really passionate about. It's one that I've followed very closely over the last 4 years as chairman of the Environment and Infrastructure Policy Review Committee.
People are going to think things here. Let's throw them out. Don't you get on with Graham Cregeen or something? I mean,
No, I have to say, if Tim Baker had not been elevated as the DOI minister, I would have stayed in Home Affairs until the election next year. However, politics changes from day to day. And I spoke to Graham, I spoke to Jeffrey, and I spoke to the Chief Minister, and I just thought, I've always had a passion for DEFA. It is a department that I've followed very closely. They've got some amazing projects on the go for the next year. Climate change for one. They've also got to deal with Brexit, and I just felt personally that I can learn so much over the next 12 months and actually look at this department and help over the next 12 months as they drive forward legislation to deal with the Brexit effect, but also really have an input into these climate change amendments as well. And, it's a department that is so wide-ranging, so I can learn a lot more about our island.
Okay, so you weren't pushed, you jumped, or however you put it?
No, it was definitely myself, but it needed a conversation with the Chief Minister, who absolutely, I'm very extremely grateful that he supported that. The Minister from Home Affairs, absolute full backing of him, and I was very pleased to say that Jeffrey Boot was also in favour of it, which made it all very easy.
Well, now there's no hole to be filled where you were, so again, this magic roundabout has
It does, but people could learn new skills. Personally, I think Home Affairs could survive with just one member and a minister, because it is a lot of legislation driven. We also have a chief constable who runs the police force. We have a chief fire officer who runs the fire service, and they have a very dedicated team. I was made incredibly welcome at Home Affairs, but this opportunity came around the corner, and I thought I was going to grab it with both hands.
Were you disappointed you weren't considered for the position of the minister?
No, I think they appointed the right person in Tim Baker. I think he's an incredible MHK. I think. I have to admit, I did raise an eyebrow when I saw Ray Harmer going to Cabinet Office, because it is quite an interesting role, and I think it takes a sort of individual of certain skills. Laurie Hooper, Chris Thomas are those sort of people who are very analytic, and I think Ray is as well, but not at the level of those two. But I think he'll do an amazing job in the Cabinet Office.
Do you think Ray kind of run out of, the goodwill in DOI almost, with the promenade and all the goings on?
I think he had an incredibly difficult department to deal with, and I do sometimes, it does come down to who's in that department, who's supporting you, who's helping you, and I did feel at times that the previous minister was on his own, and I'm to blame for half of that as a backbench MHK. I criticised him heavily over the promenade. And I still criticise the DOI over the promenade with a tourist hat on.
Okay.
Because I need to make sure the promenade is finished to a high standard in order to support our tourism.
Yeah, were you horse trams positive for the full thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right here, right now?
I'm happy to get most of the promenade done for the start of the season. I have actually said to the DOI, and I'll put it on record, that I've said to them, as long as they're looking at the works, and as long as they're doing it correctly, i.e. that they get all of the work on the hotel side done before March, I'll be happy. If they do overrun, make sure they pick exactly where they overrun, because what we want is a very good start to 2021 tourism season. So what I don't want is suddenly find they've done all the promenade except for outside the Emperors, outside the Sefton, outside the Palace, etc. I need to make sure that they are absolutely thinking about that schedule, making sure that they absolute time it, and if they do hit a buffer, and I know from the evidence session that was taken last week that they said that the schedule is tight. So if they are going to overrun, make sure they're overrunning in the right place.
While I've got you here, we must go through a few things. Well, this one anyway. Chris Thomas, your views on him being sacked?
Yeah, I think it was a strange one. I know Chris has already told me off for actually saying that he was sacked. I'm not going to get involved in that.
It's a motive word, I suppose. Well,
he's going to
cross the line, apparently, that's what the Chief Minister said, didn't he?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, that, because I was, as I put in a blog, I was surprised that he picked that topic to have the fight. I thought there was other topics that he could have picked, but he chose that one. He knew the sort of the line he was running. It's very difficult, collective responsibility. We have it in departments but not at the same level. A lot of the time, if you get to a point where you feel absolutely against something, then you do what I did in health and you resign.
Well, there was what it's going to end up in your blog.
Well, you just resign. You just resign. If you fundamentally feel that your principles and your ethics are being challenged, you step back and do it. I have to admit there's some stuff going on the order paper next week, and I have to question, Chris's motives for those. The Manx Gas, the Manx Gas sort of motion. He's standing there and sort of now challenging government to get that agreement signed. Personally, I think Chris has got to take an element of criticism for that. He's sat on this as the Policy and Reform Minister for the last 12 months. He should have got that agreement signed.
We did try those questions on him, but...
Well, I'm sorry, he should have got that agreement signed. Government should force Manx Gas's hands and actually get them to actually to give this 6 months notice and force them around the table to discuss a new agreement for Manx Gas customers.
Okay. Well, here we are, and don't forget, look in your blog. We've talked about many other things, but you're still a keen politician?
Absolutely.
Sounds like we're doing our yearly interview, but we're not.
It is. I love the job. I think it's been an incredibly tough 6 months. I think I know a lot of focus has been on the top sort of politicians, David Ashford, the Chief Minister, Alex Allinson, Alf Cannon, Lawrence Skelly, etc. And a lot of people would think that backbench MHKs haven't done very much. You've been sat at home sunbathing, etc. And we haven't. We've been incredibly busy. Myself, I've been very focused. I've been dealing with constituencies on a daily basis, and I've been doing the hours, etc.
Lawrence Skelly's been always put up. I know he's the minister, but you are meant to be head of motorsports and that sort of thing. Do you think sometimes you should have been the one making announcements, or are you happy the way?
No, the minister is the department, and I'm happy for the minister to make those.
You're okay, you two?
With Lawrence, absolutely the best. I think he is an incredible politician. I think he's very supportive of me. He allows me, as I've said in previous meetings, I think he's allowed me the flexibility to get on and do the job. I get on well, as far as I understand, with the officers that I work with in the motorsport team, the tourism teams, who are having to deal with very pressurised situations to try and not only deal with the fallout of not having these events on this year, but also trying to prepare for next year's events. I think overall I still love it. I wish I didn't have to stand for election next year, because it's a job that I've enjoyed.
if you want?
No. I think it's
just finish with
MHK.
You're not moving again, as far as you know. You're going to stick this one out in your department now, as it is, your portfolio.
Who knows? You don't know, do you?
No,
you don't know, because who could have foreseen Chris Thomas was suddenly not going to be Policy and Reform Minister? These things happen. Politics changes. You just don't know.
You've got that glint in your eye. You'd love to be a minister, though. Come on.
Yeah, I've always said that. I've said, but I don't think. Looking back, and I have watched our interviews, Paul. The one thing is, I've learned so much about myself. I've learned so much in this job. Politics is a fantastic role, a fantastic responsibility. I love it, and I love representing the people of Onchan. Yeah, I'd love to get to the next stage to be minister, but as you say, you can't run before you can walk, and it's I've learned so much over the last 4 years. I've learned so much about myself. It's challenged me at times, the pressure of the job at times, the things that I hear, gives me sleepless nights when I've tried to take on constituency issues which are really struggling. And I personally know, and I said this to the Treasury Minister yesterday when we had a conversation, I know the pain this island's going to have to go through over the next 12 months. People will lose their jobs. People could potentially lose their businesses. And it does worry me, because I was made redundant, late in 2012, and I know how difficult the next 9 months was for me. How close I came to losing my house here. But I had a very good support from family. And I just know that in the next 12 months, people are going to have those same challenges, those same difficulties. What we've got to do is to get people back to work as fast as possible. We've got to kickstart this economy. We've got to get over COVID-19 as fast as we possibly can. Get back to normality from where we were in March this year. Everyone was feeling confident. Everyone was feeling very, as if there was a very good future on the Isle of Man. We were dealing with the issues that we were facing. We've now got to start again. And going into next year's election year, I know I'm going to have a very, very tough election, and I'm going to have to help a lot of people and try to make sure that we have policies in place that supports families, supports individuals, that they can have a job at the end of this, and they do have a future. And that's the key message that I need to get out today as a constituency MHK.